Right. Hi, Richard.
How you doing?
I'm very pleased to meet you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about your experiences of Corrymeela this
Mhm.
afternoon. As a newcomer, there's so much to learn. But maybe you could start by telling me a little bit about your background.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a good start. I mean, what happened to me was I started as an aeronautical engineer. I did a student apprenticeship with Shorten Hollins, which is the aircraft factory here, and that uh, I really loved that. I was qualified in, I think it was 1958 when I started as a young guy, and I moved on to become what was called a stress engineer or a stress man. And just to explain that, way back at the late 50s, the very first jet airliner uh, by de Havilland, which was uh, designed by Comet. I mean, jet airliner in the sense that it was by jet was propelling it. Went into crisis by having crashes, which had to be grounded, which meant then the Boeings took over from that. But why that happened was because of a thing called metal fatigue, which was not known about then, but it became a big thing in design. And what the effect of that was, this sounds a bit long, the effect of that was it meant that stress engineers were very well paid technicians. So I enjoyed that very much. But then what happened to me in 1964, I became a youth worker as well. And the two things vied with me right through all that time of the 60s until eventually I changed careers in 1971. Um, and the also thing happened in the 60s, of course, was I became deeply involved in uh, with youth work, but also kind of peace and um, Martin Luther King and all that. That was the big thing for me. And so in 1971 was the first time I ever went to Corrymeela, and it was the open day in Corrymeela. It was a big day, all of Saturday, and we had been uh, uh, part of the youth work thing was that I got involved in music and folk music and peace songs and all that. So we were invited to do a concert at the end of Corrymeela's open day down in Star of the Sea church and down in the town. Then it's not there anymore. And we also stayed overnight in uh, uh, the work campers. The work campers had a place, and we we played. We went there all sharing songs and so and sang all night. So on the next morning, I walked across with my friends to sleep on the floor of the quiet room and the Corrymeela main house. So it was kind of exciting and stimulating, but the real thing about it was what Corrymeela just appeared to me as the exact type of work that I was really wanting to change to. So the fact that I already decided to change, and it was a painful decision and all that, leaving the good money to become a student again, was, you know, was reinforced by all the Corrymeela experience. And I stayed, that connection stayed. I went off to Birmingham, uh, Westfield College for 2 years, but I also put Corrymeela on the rag day list for raising money. So we raised money both years at there and so on and so forth. So I was a bit disjointed, but that's what happened. That was really the first contact. I met Ray Davey on that day. I met Derek Wilson, and Derek was a professional youth worker at that time. So he joked and made made fun of me and so on. And one of the things that happened was that we got the main artists at the concert were the McPhee family, who were very famous at that time, and they got their fee was something like £80. Our fee, there was three of us, was £3. And it so happened at that time you could sign up as a friend of Corrymeela. You could fill in a form and pay £1, and you became a friend of Corrymeela. Got all the correspondence. So we put our £3 in. So that was a pretty good deal for Corrymeela, if you think all right. Anyway, that was just.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Did you go? You went there then with two, not with any youth group, with your two friends in the group you played with?
Just the two friends as a folk group to sing. That's where we went. But we went for the whole day. We didn't just go for the concert. We went early. We were invited to go early, which we did, and we did all the things. And I say met Ray and met Derek Wilson and so on. And
Ray being the founder, right?
So
Ray Davey being the founder of Corrymeela.
Yeah. Well, then what happened after that? I mean, as I say, it was a bit of a lax because I was away, and then when I come back, my first job was Project Bangor, which was a Southeast Educational Library Board. So, and interestingly, during those 4 or 5 years on the work, I still had a chance to work at Corrymeela because the Southeastern Board gave you the some summer, a couple of months in summer off. So I was able to do a volunteer and go down, and that's how that kind of started. But interestingly, also the other link was that Angela, my wife, became Ray Davies' secretary. And so she was secretary, and as I say, with a lot of contact, a lot of mostly volunteering work, and not all youth work. It was quite a lot of family residentials and so on. But my wife became a member in the 70s, and I hesitated about. I mean, I was doing part of the work, and I saw the interesting thing about Corrymeela for me at that time, and it still is in a way, is that there are two things. There's the residential centre and all the work that it does, and then there's the community, which is, it's, as Ray said, Corrymeela begins when you leave. So the real thing that I was concentrating on and making, I suppose, I felt that the work that Corrymeela was doing was the work that I just trained and decided to keep doing. So it was kind of attracting me as it was a kind of another sideline, because what happened after about 4 or 5 years, I became a university lecturer in youth work at Jordanstown, at the University of Ulster. So now that was quite soon after changing careers. And
just to go back, when you were in Birmingham, that was that at university? Were you doing engineering there?
Yes, yeah. No, I wasn't doing that. I was doing the youth work there. That was the youth community work. West Hill College, Birmingham, was linked to Birmingham University, yes. So I was just changing. That was just the kind of interim period. It's when you come back. I remember what had happened before 71, well, all those years from 64 onwards, the work at Belfast, it was, reconciliation work. The club that it was a huge club, 100 strong, Protestants and Catholics together. It was in Craighead Methodist, and at that time, the Department of Education had open youth youth centres, they open clubs. They funded them. They funded them, very fully. We got 75% for all equipment. You got 90% for the youth worker's salary. Now, I didn't take a salary because I, of course, was working already, but it was a big thing that happened at that time. But what happened towards the end, and it was one of the reasons why I changed careers as well, the churches were a bit uncomfortable with the fact that this was all open and it was very free, and it was, so they became a bit nervous about that. And so I felt I needed to have a chance to do the professional work, uninhibited, if you like, by constraints that the church might apply. And that was not present in Corrymeela. The thing about Corrymeela, it was open to Dave. Ray Davy was open to, just everything, and we're working with Protestant Catholics together. That was the kind of right
that
up
was
there.
where that was where there was conflict, really, in what you, and where Corrymeela was able to maybe point you towards.
Corrymeela was doing its stuff, and
Yeah.
that was, what. And interestingly, the residential side, it's that we began to work was you volunteered at the centre, and we did family weeks, which was one at that time in the summer. You did those family weeks, which lasted for a week. They're a bit longer. They got a bit shorter in the latter years, but they lasted for 6 days anyway. And so families from different parts came over. And what the first family week that Hans and I signed up for that, and we worked with Matilda Stevens, who was a community worker for Corrymeela at that time, and she would connect with the families. We would visit the families in the winter time and visit them in their homes and so on and so forth. So then we were ready for when they all came together. Now, the first one we did was Suffolk and Loudon. Now, that's two areas of Belfast which are Protestant Catholic, and they're quite close by each other. They're interface with each other. And the first one worked. It worked a treat. We did all the things, and went very well. And to be frank, I thought, well, that's okay. I wasn't too excited about it, but because the next year we were repeating it, and I had an Open University course to do, so I didn't go to. Angela did it on her own for the first. And she had to contact me over in England to say that could it get back quickly because it was going a bit sideways. So that was during that time. What happened was that two of the young found two couples who were Protestant clashed with two single moms who had small babies who were Catholic, and they knew each other from the local area, and when it came, it just didn't work, and they clashed, and it was really difficult week. But the interesting thing about it was I felt more committed to it that week, because I thought, well, this is really important. And an interesting side, this is a side story, and one of the guys who, on the Protestant side, who had created such difficulty, he came to visit me and Angela at the Corrymeela Centre in Belfast, and clearly he obviously had regrets, and he must have regretted what involved. And he asked me about training for youth work and so on. And eventually he came for interview for the course several times. Now, I didn't interview him personally, but others did. And he didn't actually get on the course. But the point that I'm making is that it was clearly he was, regretful about what had happened. But it showed me how difficult it was for, these were fairly young people, young families. And once they had a conflict, it's not that easy to come to Corrymeela and it all kind of fades away. And a few people at Corrymeela who were in charge of things were saying, well, no, maybe we should have, if we're having Protestant Catholics together, we should have them from not just close by each other, but maybe a little bit separate. Anyway, but we continued on, and also I would volunteer for youth projects and so on.
Richard, can I just go back? Did that week did you have to almost give up on that week? Did they become reconciled at the end of it, or did it really not work out?
We didn't become reconciled at the end. What happened actually was at the end, that was the kind of why it was so painful in a way. What happened was at the end we had two minibuses. Before we had our own minibuses, was two minibuses to take the families away home up, and one of the minibuses broke down. So that what happened was that, and the two single mums, they had two babies each who were very fretful and crying and quite troublesome. And I thought they should go on the first minibus, even though it meant them mixing in with the Protestant families were all gone, and these two Protestant guys, and they reacted to this negatively, and the mums saw this, and it affected them. They were very annoyed, and we were all annoyed, and so that's why it heightened. It was just at the time of leaving. So eventually we hired another bus and we got it all sorted out.
Yeah.
So
was there some conflict there between being single mums and the others being families? Was there a bit of prejudice against single mums, or was it just the religion?
That's a very good question. I'm not so sure it was that, but I mean, the single mums had their hands full with it, because for example, on the day out we always had a day out in the bus and went up around the coast and all that with all sorts of things like that. They didn't go on that, which was everybody went. They didn't go on that, and just so they had the kind of the babies and the toddlers, for a whole afternoon, if you like, on their own. So they were struggling a lot anyway. But rather, what happened after was this: we followed this up, Matilda and myself and Angela, in the area. So we had a big meeting in the area, and so when we did it again, we had sorted a lot of, and some of those things had sorted themselves out. The particular couple who had caused a lot of or had felt the thing, they actually didn't come back. So except for the young man I'm telling you about, who came to see me, and so it was just like a kind of, he eventually did get into some kind of youth work. I don't know if he got a job, but he moved towards youth work, more.
Very interesting and positive in itself then,
Yeah,
that did come, even if it didn't come immediately.
no, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'll let you carry on.
No, no, okay. Trying to, oh yes, the minibus that I mentioned, that was a became a big thing. The the huge, we've got a 34-seater minibus, that which meant we could take everybody. And I was a driver for many years. There was a lot of drivers, volunteer drivers, and you know, it was quite an undertaking to take a whole clatter in the bus. Um, I mean, uh, we we went to London in that bus. It was shortly after we had it. There used to be a Corrymeela weekend, Corrymeela Sunday it was called, and I think it was around about the St. Patrick's Day. We had them various places, and it was in London that particular weekend. And we drove. We actually went on the very late Thursday, Lawrence Roar boat. So, and drove through the night down to get down. And Angela was also one of the drivers, and she decided she didn't want to. We were driving she wanted to drive early because she felt she'd get sleepy. Now the thing was, she was driving from Stranraer to Carlisle on it, and that's the worst part. That's the kind of very bendy part of the road. Whereas after that, it's more or less motorway straight on down. But I remember that well. So we took our turns driving the minibus all down, and so that's the kind of things where I did a lot of driving, and also, I mean, when I mentioned I'm sorry I mentioned the buses, because what happened, I did a couple of things with that 34-seater, for example. I was involved in it was a youth weekend from one of my ex-students brought his youth club to it was St. Malachy's. Was it St. Malachy's? Anyway, I can't remember the name, but and they came down, and one of the things we used to do was to go into the forest up Ballycastle Forest there. And what we did was the big bus couldn't actually go in, so we came to the end of the, and they went off on their. Now the thing about the Ballycastle Forest, it actually you can ends up on the other side of the road if you take the wrong turn. And the plan was we went in, they were in the forest, and we went up to pick them up at the appropriate time, and they weren't there. So it's oh gosh, we did all sorts of back and forth, and then one of the other drivers said, there is you can come out another way on the other side of the road, and so we went to that car park, and there was the tea, dinner was over and everything, but we went, and sure enough, they were coming. There's the bus there. So we took them. Now the what puts the cap on this story is that I came in, parked the bus at the top of Corrymeela's car park, and right at the very top, but facing upwards, but it's facing away from the house. And what must have happened is that some of the kids had got into it, stayed there all night, but some of the kids must have got into it and let the handbrake off, because during that morning, just before lunch, the bus came down the car park, amazingly missed the cars in the first section, and then crashed into a car. It was can't remember.
My
Anyway,
goodness.
it crashed into the car, and of course, then I got the whole blame of this. You know, became the disaster person. Don't let them do.
I hope you didn't have to pay for it though, Richard.
No, I didn't know, but there wasn't that much, and there wasn't that much damage to the bus either, strangely. But it just showed, you know, it's really kind of hairy business with all that kind of thing.
Do they still have a 34-seater bus? I don't know that they do. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm trying to look down at my notes here.
Yeah.
What are the questions here? What's the questions?
Oh yes. Well, it was just well, I don't know. That was probably one of your most difficult moments. Well, maybe no. It was just
no.
Back on.
No, there was, yes. No, I think that the memories of, say, what memories you have. See, the memories are it's a very strong memory about all the kind of events and the effectiveness of them. Or, I mean, interestingly, I think maybe it's a good point. The bit about becoming a member. I didn't become a member right away at all. Angela became a member, and I kept saying to her, I want to talk to her about this, and she says, "I'm not talking to you. Talk to Ray." So, so eventually I did go to talk, because what I was worried about was I wanted to do this work. I had been involved very deeply with the Methodist Church. I knew that the times when the kind of religious aspect of the church or the evangelical side of the thing would kind of put pressure on, so with this and this and this, and I didn't perceive that at Corrymeela, but I wanted to make sure that people were clear and free to be open to these areas. And went and talked to Ray. So, and of course, the talk with Ray was absolutely wonderful. It was kind of inspiring, and what I can't remember what he said, except he desperately wanted me to be a member. He thought, yes, no, you're exactly the person that's just great, and so on and so forth. So I was just, cloud nine, sounding fine. So that was when I became a member, and then funny when last year when they said, look, we'll be associate members with Angela and I, was really because more to do with timing and not being able to give the time and not to be there and do the amount of work that don't drive the bus anymore, all that sort of stuff. But interestingly, Philippa, it was Cara, by the way. Philippa, who's member secretary, has kind of kept the link on. So we obviously we still go to the cell group and so on. So a very strong ties are there, which means you don't feel as if you don't feel isolated or separate in any way, and that's
the cell group in Belfast, is it? A local group
in Belfast, yes, the Armour Road one.
Right.
So, so that's one aspect of it. So, and interestingly, with the pandemic and so on, the lockdown, the way Alex has handled all that bit about, informing people, I felt there was, and also the business of the stuff from the Cree and people doing things. It was just a very strong aspect of it. It's the aspect of it that's separate, if you like, in a way, from the actual hard work of residential work, because we couldn't do residential work. So you could say, oh, well, what was happening? Well, there was a lot happening, you know, and a very strong sense of Corrymeela and the unity of Corrymeela, if you like, Ben.
You mean the regular little services or thoughts or meditations coming out of the Cree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but also that, and also the kind of well, I mean, it was just the context were being maintained, if you like. And obviously not with the whole big crowd. We don't have the whole kind of members all together at the at when we have at a weekend. But
that's where this technology has really been helping us.
Absolutely, because on the cell group, we have one of our members is in New Zealand.
Wow.
Becky's in New Zealand. It means she's in the cell group. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for her, and it's 8 o'clock at night for us. But you know, so I criticize all this, the Zoom and all the rest of it, but it is tremendously useful if you think about it. You know, you can do such things. I'm looking down at the questions here to see if.
Yes, I think well, I can see the Corrymeela making a difference for you. That was really, it pointed you to the youth work very much.
Absolutely. I mean, Corrymeela was part of the whole thing. And you see, what happened was, it's all intertwined with me. Because what happened was, when I was a lecturer and running, we had residentials for our students. We had 2 residentials for the first years coming in, and for the second years we had, you know, residential at Corrymeela. So and I mean, a lot of people who completed the course, students of mine, went on to work for Corrymeela or went on to do different, or became members of Corrymeela. There's quite a few of them who were ex youth work or professional youth workers. So that's a very big connection. You feel sort of part of it.
A lot of seeds sown that then spread out, and
yes. Now the bit about you know, the thing of, you could say, oh well, you know, it's still a lot of conflict around, and so there is, and there's still a lot of sectarianism, and you can see it. But I mean, you have to keep chipping away at that. I think the opportunities for the openness to bring people together, you know, is there, and the skill is there, and we've been very lucky in terms of the skills of volunteers and people who work at the centre. You know, it's good. It's wider. You know, it's wider than just Protestant and Catholic. It's gone beyond into, you know, even, you know, diversity and, you know, kind of LGBT and all that. I mean, it's a very open thing. And one thing about it, I need to say, and that is both Ray and Kathleen Davey, both of them seem to, now I don't know, I'm talking about my own, seem to know about everybody. They were able to talk to you. They would come and, you know, and my eldest son, who's now in Liverpool, but he was difficult. He had a difficult time. He was rebellious, and he left home and lived in a squat in England and so on. Ray and Kathleen, he was really friendly because he worked did some work for Kathleen, some different bits of work when she was looking after exams and things. So she had a knowledge of him, and when we met, she would talk knowledgeably about him, and ask you about so that sense of people who had a knowledge and an interest in you, you thought, well, it was just overwhelmingly supportive, and
it sounds like there was more work on reconciliation there as well. So
yes, yeah. Yeah, and I think that it's hard to know, but saying what there's thing here, what has been difficult. I'm not sure. I suppose it is one thing difficult is that to have a lot of people together. The difficulty of the membership is we are very, very diverse, and that diversity, and also the Protestant Catholic thing with the members, there was a lot of major things worked through. For example, the first time we ever had Mass celebrated at the centre, I remember that really well because there was a big build up to that. And we had a famous guy from who I can't remember his name. It's just so I'm really getting old. He was running the weekend. It was a membership weekend, Corrymeela weekend, and he set up this thing. I don't know if Eleanor remembers it, but it was in the old house in the was a big room in the old house that we used for that service. We didn't have the Korea at that time, and he was all this talk. He says, yes, we're going to celebrate this together. It's going to be all members, Protestant Catholic together. And there's a lot of talking and discussion and so on and so forth. Now, I'm a Methodist, and the Methodist communion, when the book is there's two books, but the original one, which is still in the booklet, it was the Church of England old model. I can't remember the words of it, but it's because so it was it. He used that exactly. That was what he used. So when he began to go through all the bits of it, he was saying words which I'd heard, from my childhood. These words. So it was as what are we on about? It's whether or not it's a transubstantiation. Anyway, it was a very terrific, uniting experience.
Reaching out from both sides and then finding common.
Yes. Now, some people, for a while, some people were uncomfortable about it and didn't, and so it took a while. It wasn't just an instant switch. It took a little bit of time, for people to say, yeah, that was fine. But then it became a standard thing that there was an open table, if you like, and anyway, I thought that kind of approach, and I went over to that. One of the things we used to do is go over on a weekend to that London church, which was huge. It had multiracial people, so and different. The races tended to go from different groups, sort of all the West Indians would be on it anyway.
Yeah.
and what you went over and you went to each of the masses, and you spoke about Corrymeela and the retiring offering, or if you went to Corrymeela. So they collected the money and they gave it to you, and you took it and got on the plane and came back. So,
Very good. So Richard, I think you've almost talked about what reconciliation means to you. It almost sounds like being open to new ideas and new ways of coming together. But is there anything else you want to say about that, or any?
No, I suppose. I mean, I'm from Belfast and come through all this. My memories when thinking back on my family and so on, was the effort to find a way forward that was uniting rather than separating. And I have two sisters, and they're both much younger than me, but we used to talk about this, and my mother was at this time when we were all children in the house, she was very hardline Protestant, and she was very evangelical, and she got a magazine called the Protestant Telegraph. It was a magazine by Paisley, and she did reject it after a while, because it was filled with horror stories of priests who had got women pregnant and all that. That was the kind of tone of it, and we would laugh at it in one way, and criticize it, and so we had these conversations. Now, my mother was an intelligent woman, and when you got into that discussion, Taylor, she would then, respond in a different way, and mellowed, if you like. But from that earlier time, we wanted to find a different way. Wanted to find a much more encompassing and inclusive approach to things, and it's hard because within Belfast and Northern Ireland, that's very inbuilt. That kind of, oh yes, like to give you an example, my mother, my son, he lives in France, and he married a French girl, and when he came over after I got married and so on, my mother was anxious to know what religion she was, and but the way the words, and we were talking about it the other day, she said, "Is she a wee friend? Is she a wee Catholic girl? Is she a wee Catholic girl?" That's the way Belfast people, you put "wee" in, and that explains it. That you can say whatever you like. And we said, "Yeah, she is," So, that's okay then. So it's built in. It's really built in. Anyway, yeah, and I think so. It's a conscious thing to move away from it, or to look for a broader, but still to be not at least acknowledging the kind of the differences and the realities that people face, in whatever religion they have, or whatever they're following.
Background, yeah. Well,
I think I've wandered way off.
No, I don't think so. I think we're really coming to the end now, Richard. It was
okay.
If have a look over those, see if there's anything more you want to say. But it's really interesting seeing the practical, the going out on the buses. That's very lots of
Oh, yeah.
memories of the conflicts that arose and the funny times and the friendship of the people there. But it's a very, very interesting. I don't know if they do trips to London now or anywhere else, long trips like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens on Corrymeela Sunday. I think it's still people go. Sometimes the youth group might, whatever youth group is, you know, there might go.
It's,
Um,
it's a good way to keep people together over a long time. And they might as
yeah,
well get on as not on that long a journey.
but I think the business. I think we've got to. What I have to do is to recognize that the work is different now. It's slightly different. The residentials are shorter, uh, and for all sorts of different reasons. And so you can't look back and say, "Oh, we did those big things," you know. And those some of them were fine, but some of them were. When you look back, they were for areas of Belfast where they didn't have a holiday break. So I mean, they had a holiday, and for example, we used to arrange it so that there was never got too many dads, but we got an awful lot of mums. But when they were at the Ballycastle, we got the dole switched to Ballycastle so that they at least have cash to come in, you know. And the other thing that we did, which wasn't going to survive, but we quite often we didn't. If the person couldn't afford the costs, which were not that dear, we would waive it and try to raise the money another way. And in fact, some some members would actually raise the money first and then run the summer weeks. So we're going through a lot of different and ways and means, and the fact that we have a very, I think, a very beautiful centre now. You know, uh, it was rough and ready at times. That the first those first years that we had old. I think there were holiday chalets from some, you know, holiday camp or something, and they were put up round the grassy bit, you know, the grassy bit outside, roughly just in front of where the Cree is now. Um, and what that, but it was very interesting because they were single accommodation for family, like three or four. And what Ray did at one time, there was a situation in Belfast where people were being burned out of their house and had to find. And so when families came, he would bring them down and they would get one of these places. And interestingly, it wasn't that we supported them, but didn't uh, program them. You know, we didn't sort of go, how you doing all. So he had a very subtle way of letting people just take their time and get safe and feel okay. You know,
A lot of sensitivity.
tremendous sensitivity, very, very much so. But also, I mean, he was the thing about Ray and that, and he was well, he played rugby. So one of and I played rugby. So you know, you could talk about rugby and say it was about the team last year. So there was a lovely side to him, you know, that that was terrific. Um, I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry.
Well, Richard, I think I guess our time is up now, but
Yeah.
that was, I mean, you and Angela have given an awful lot of your time to Corrymeela and your, you know, experiences and knowledge. I'm sure you felt you've gained, and Corrymeela has certainly gained, and it's been fascinating listening to all of that. I hope to see you up at the centre sometime, that you make it up
Yes,
there.
yes,
And,
that's I do regret not being up as much. You know, that's why we went for the associate, because if you need to be up, you need to be there. You know, and I think that residential side, that, you know, that's, you know, it's beautiful.